Welcome everyone, I'm Dale and this is CinemaHistoria. A suspicious fire, a suspect on the run, and a sabotage spy ring. This week we're going back to 1942 for an American spy thriller film called Saboteur, starring Priscilla Lane, Robert Cummings, Norman Lloyd, and Otto Kruger. And this is directed by Alfred Hitchcock. So, let's begin our story. It's World War II. The setting, an aircraft manufacturing plant in Glendale, California. Factory worker Barry Kane, played by Robert Cummings, and co-worker Ken Mason are in the midst of leaving the plant at the end of their shift when they accidentally bump into a worker they don't recognize. Helping to pick up what had been dropped in the incident, Barry notices the name Frank Fry on one of the envelopes. Smelling smoke and discovering a fire has broken out in Department 7 at the paint shop, Barry, Ken, and Frank, played by Norman Lloyd, rush onto the scene. To help put out the fire, Frank passes a fire extinguisher to Barry, who in turn passes it on to Ken. But as the ever-surrounding flames increase, Ken is killed in the fire. When no one by the name of Frank Fry is found to have ever worked there, and discovering that the fire extinguisher that Barry passed to Ken was filled with gasoline, Barry becomes the target of a desperate manhunt. Remembering the address, Deep Springs Ranch, Springville, California, on an envelope carried by Fry, Barry hitches a truck ride in a frantic move across country to clear his name. Arriving at the huge ranch in the desert, Barry discovers the ranch's owner, Charles Tobin, played by Otto Kruger, is secretly collaborating with a group of saboteurs that include Fry. Barry successfully escapes and takes refuge at a welcoming cabin in the country owned by a blind man and his niece, Patricia Martin, played by Priscilla Lane. Giving him a ride, Patricia believes Barry is guilty and attempts to turn him into the police, but Barry kidnaps her and travels east in search of Fry. After stowing away on a circus caravan, Patricia begins to believe Barry's innocence as they reach a ghost town used as an outpost by Tobin's spy ring. Now discovered, Barry successfully infiltrates the group, whose next move is to sabotage the launch of a new battleship. So, is Patricia kidnapped and imprisoned in a high-rise office building? Does Barry intervene the saboteurs at the Brooklyn Navy Yard? Or does a chase up the Statue of Liberty change the direction of our story? Released April 22nd, 1942. This movie required more than 4,500 camera setups, 49 sets, and over 1,200 extras. When the U.S. War Production Board issued guidelines for clothing rationing in 1942, the board invited Hollywood designers to create fashions that complied with the new restrictions on fabric. With an 81% rating from the film critic Rotten Tomatoes, the New York Times called the film a swift, high-tension, melodramatic film from the hand of the master. And yes, the master was Alfred Hitchcock. If you enjoyed the 39 Steps I did from 1935, you'll enjoy this one as well. And if you didn't see that video, please click the link below. And our trivia question this week: was this the theatrical movie debut of someone who starred in our film? Was this the theatrical movie debut of someone who starred in our film? So, a little more history and the answer to our trivia question coming up next. The ship used in the Brooklyn Navy Yard scene in our film was the SS Normandy, making it the subject of this week's history. So, the SS Normandy was a French ocean liner built in Saint-Nazaire, France for the French line CGT. Considered the pride of France, the SS Normandy was designed as a superliner. From the progress innovation of the 1920s, it was like no ocean liner before. Designed by renowned naval architect Vladimir Yorkovich, the ship was a blend of non-traditional ship design and French Art Deco. With new technologies such as bulbous prow and hydroelectric propulsion, the ship embodied French design and Russian ingenuity. Utilizing several design tactics, the ship's layout was unlike any other, with interior spaces proportioned on a majestic scale. Most of the ship was focused on first class, including a main dining hall, being the longest room afloat at the time, a swimming pool, winter garden, and theater. Work began on January 26, 1931, and on October 29, 1932, Normandy was launched in front of 200,000 spectators. The 27,567-ton hull that slid into River Loire was the largest launched, and the wave washed up the shoreline and over several hundred spectators. Outfitted with interiors, funnels, and engines in 1935, in May of the same year, Normandy was ready for trial runs. Normandy's maiden voyage was on May 29, 1935 at Le Havre, taking aboard 812 passengers, 467 first class, 244 tourist class, and 101 third class. Years later, however, at the outbreak of World War II, the federal government, seeking haven, interned the Normandy in New York Harbor in September of 1939, and the Queen Mary and Queen Elizabeth would follow in 1940. The U.S. Navy was in the process of converting the ship into a troop transport to help the Allied forces during World War II, when a spark from a torch started a fire. Although the ship had a modern fire system, fire spread rapidly throughout the ship. Even though contained by surrounding port fire ships pouring tons of water on it, by morning, it rested peacefully on its side. Hearing of the incident, Alfred Hitchcock quickly dispatched a Universal film crew to the scene to get footage that he incorporated into the movie. A casualty of war without ever fighting, the Normandy was scrapped in 1946. A ship passed long before its time. What a shame. And the answer to our trivia question this week, was this the theatrical movie debut of someone who starred in our film? Yes, it certainly was. This was the theatrical movie debut of American actor, producer, and director Norman Lloyd, who plays the spy Frank Fry in our film. Good name for a spy. Lloyd's long professional association with Alfred Hitchcock began with Saboteur in 1942 and Spellbound in 1945, and I have that film if you'd like a review on that one, a great Hitchcock one, and was a producer of Hitchcock's television series Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Lloyd directed and produced episodic TV shows throughout the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s, and was an actor, and as an actor he appeared in over 60 films and television shows. Spanning a career in entertainment for nearly a century, Lloyd passed away May 11, 2021 at the age of 106 and remains the longest-lived male actor from classic Hollywood. Just amazing. I'd like to give a big thank you to my viewers and subscribers, and a big thanks for starting off the new year with my channel. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.